Does display size actually matter in handheld gaming? Because if you asked me that a year ago, I would have probably said yes. Bigger is better. More screen, more immersion, more fun. Simple. But after using a lot of handhelds over time, especially one with a smaller display for the most part, I don't think the answer is that straightforward anymore. In fact, I'm not even sure size is the most important factor. I think how that size is implemented matters way more. So for me, it comes down to two things above everything else: resolution and panel technology. Let's start with what I'll consider the sweet spot. For me, around 8 inches is ideal. Big enough to feel immersive, small enough to still feel like a handheld. Anything around 8 inches gives you that perfect balance where text is readable, the UI elements don't feel cramped, and you're not constantly squinting. But at the same time, it doesn't feel like you're holding a tablet with controllers glued to the sides, okay? But once you go past that, say 9 inches, 10 inches, I'm sorry, but at that point, we are no longer talking about a handheld. That's already what I would call a portable PC. And there's nothing wrong with that, okay? But let's just call it what it is. Now, here's where it gets interesting. If we drop below 8 inches, say 7 inches, like on my AYANEO 3, my requirement immediately becomes stricter because at that size, I'm gonna need two things to justify my using it. First, it must have at least 1080p resolution, and then second, it just has to be an OLED panel, okay? Otherwise, nope. And this is exactly why certain devices just don't excite me anymore, okay? Take something like the Asus ROG Ally X, or let's say even the newer Asus Xbox Ally X. Same 7-inch size, still IPS. Now yes, they both offer 1080p resolution, but that's not enough. I don't care how much they tweak performance or the battery life. If you're staying at 7 inches in 2026 and still shipping IPS, that's not an upgrade in my book. That should honestly not be allowed, especially in 2026. For me, OLED is the upgrade. And if you noticed, that's why Steam did not call their refresh the Steam Deck Pro or, the Steam Deck X. They called it exactly what it was: Steam Deck OLED, because that's what fundamentally changed the experience. And by the way, that OLED panel is 7.4 inches, which explains everything. Valve nailed the size. Slightly bigger than 7, but still compact and noticeably more immersive. And that's also why I wasn't excited at all when Asus moved from the original Asus Ally to the Ally X and kept the same display technology. Same story with the Xbox Ally X. New internals, sure, but same screen. That's not an upgrade to me. Now here's where price comes into play. If those 7-inch IPS devices were say $200 or $300 cheaper, my opinion would soften, because then I could justify pairing them with something else like a portable OLED monitor or XR glasses. At that point, the value equation changes. But at full price, nah, okay? OLED should be the feature that earns the word upgrade. So what about devices with larger displays? Now, this is where IPS starts to make more sense. Take the MSI Color A8 for example. It's around 8 inches, higher resolution, and suddenly IPS doesn't look that bad, okay? The extra screen real estate really helps. Sharpness improves, details stand out more, and the colors pop a bit more. Now, same thing with the original Legion Go, okay? Pushing up to 1440p resolution. Same thing with the larger 1X player device like the X1. So as you can see, higher resolution plus a larger panel means IPS gets a second life. And that's also why I think the 1X Fly Apex is going to look really good. Bigger display, higher resolution, it just works better with IPS. But even then, OLED still wins. Which brings me to what I think is the best display configuration we've seen so far: the Lenovo Legion Go Gen 2. An 8.8-inch OLED display with VITURE. For me, that's the best of all worlds, okay? Yes, it slightly pushes the boundary of what I traditionally call a handheld, but that extra 0.8 inches doesn't feel excessive. It feels usable, still feels immersive, still feels like something you'd actually want to game on while lying on a bed or on a couch, okay? Now, there are concerns, starting with the weight and of course fragility because of detachable controllers, and those are valid conversations, but purely from a display perspective, Lenovo actually takes the crown. So where does that leave us? Here's my personal rule, okay? If 7 inches, then it must be OLED and a minimum 1080p resolution. A bonus if they're adding VITURE to the mix. Also, if around 8 inches, IPS can work, but OLED would be ideal. And if IPS, the price should also be right. If above 8.8 inches, which is where the Legion Go 2 is at right now, then it's no longer considered a handheld. It's already a portable PC. And when we speak about 10 inches and more, then just call it a laptop because it's definitely not a handheld. Let's just stop pretending. And here's why the Steam Deck still holds a special place today. At 7.4 inches with an OLED panel, it sits right in the middle. Not too small, not too big, just right. And I will also add that if the Steam Deck had managed to add in a higher resolution and better CPU, I think the conversation will long be over for the other companies right now. So at the end of the day, display size absolutely matters, but not in isolation. Size without resolution doesn't work. Resolution without panel quality doesn't excite, and panel quality without the right size can feel wasted, okay? And that is why this conversation is more nuanced than just, bigger is better, okay? And of course, which is why I'm genuinely curious to know where you guys stand. Would you rather have a smaller OLED screen like on my AYANEO or a bigger IPS display like on the MSI Claw A8? Where is your personal sweet spot? Of course, let me know in the comment section below because I really want to hear, different perspectives on this. If this video really helped you think about handhelds display a little different, then hit the like button. And of course, subscribe if you want to see more conversations like this and, not just specs but more perspective, okay? And of course, that said, my name is Samson and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.